ಪಾರ್ಟಿ.
ಏನೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಯೋ ನಂಗೋಸ್ಕರ?
ಸೂಪರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಪಕ್ಕ ಹೋಗಿ ಕರ್ರ.
Well, this one Kannada film called Hostel has been creating a rather huge tehelka at the box office and I think amongst the cinema goers. So firstly, a huge congratulations. We are very fortunate to have the director, the music composer, and of course the DOP of the film, Arvind, Nithin and Ajaneesh. So thank you so much for joining me on Filme Show, and huge congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much for having us.
Right. I'm going to go with you, Nitin, first. When I watched the film, I mean, I think it's something so, we are talking about multiverses at the moment when we talk about Marvel films, and here you are creating almost a multiverse of your own through different um, styles, through different, endings, to different stories. How challenging was it to actually make this film and conceptualize it? And what do you think really helped you to translate that from paper to screen as well?
Making this was obviously a challenge because we have blended a lot of genres into the film. It's not just one single piece of genre, and we had a strong conviction that this will work. They usually say that a film needs to have 3 acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, but not necessarily in the same order. So even if you watch the film, the end comes thrice in the film. So we knew that clear that we wanted to break some barriers and push boundaries in the film, and because of a strong team that we have, I think everything was properly translated from script to screen.
Right. When you have to sort of again play around with the visuals and the music here, because of course in Kantara it was more rural, it was more rustic, the music, and of course the DOP as well. But when it comes to doing a film like this, which obviously is a lot more of a tribute to pop culture, to almost reality in a way, but fantasizing reality, how tough was that for you, I guess, to play around in the technical aspects as well?
Yes, of course. It is very tough to the way the director has mixed the genres. The same way I have to do it here also. I've used EDM as the main base throughout the film, and I have to bring in the local a kind of tapori culture kind of things also should bring to show that the naughtiness and the hostel mischievous to deceive the mischievous culture of hostel boys, how they find. So and there is so many things is happening. So there's so many dialogues in between. I have to score the music. So I have, if you ask me, I have only 5 to 10 seconds of a window to register a theme or any musical ideas in the film. So obviously, it's opposite to Kantara in every aspect. What I have done in Kantara, it is so musical, so expressive, but here it is. So I have to travel with the story, with the characters, lot of characters. There is more than 100 characters in the film. So I have to see that each and every dialogue has to be heard. At the same time, music also should be registered in the audience mind. Doing this is very tough actually.
I can imagine. And I think even as well for you, Aravind, I mean, in terms of the camera work, it was absolutely delicious to watch. I have to tell you. I mean, the way it moves, you have the aesthetic of how a film, one would expect a film to look like. But at the same time, we have very found footage style of storytelling as well, where, the character would be speaking behind the camera. So it's kind of making it very active as well. So again, for you, not just the film itself that fuses different genres, but you, for as someone behind the camera, you had to really fuse different styles of genres as well. What would you say was some of your key inspirations behind doing this?
Like you said, it was a big challenge for me to shoot this in the way we have shot it. I had to do a lot of unlearning to not make it cinematic, because as this someone who's an amateur filmmaker, wannabe filmmaker is shooting it. I had to make sure the visuals would match that to justify the story. And at the same time, we had to draw the line and also make it cinematic, because we knew this had to be projected on a big screen. And being too loyal to found footage might not make it that cinematic. So to kind of get the balance was a big challenge between making it cinematic and making it real. And most of it involved me just taking the camera and running around. I think uh, I've seen a lot of World War II handheld footages, which I would say have been some of my biggest inspirations to shoot it that way. So I think there are some really raw footages of people, in Omaha Beach running around with the camera when bullets are flying around. So we had very we didn't have so much of chaos here, but to film it that way amidst all the chaos, I think that would be my biggest inspiration.
Wow, I mean that's quite interesting actually. You mentioned that, but I'm glad you said that actually, because obviously the sort of topics that the film deals with, it definitely does require sensitivity, right? I mean, it's not like आप किसी की कत्ल के बारे में बात कर रहे हो. You're talking about someone's death here. There's so many other things. I mean, even though it is like in an alternate imagination and sort of different universe kind of a thing. So how much of a conscious decision was it for you that even though you were doing it with humor, you balanced that and not make it seem insensitive to the viewer?
So every time we used to improvise the screenplay or improvise the dialogues, so we used to give a reading to all the artists over there. We used to cross check if sometimes I might not feel as sensitive or offensive or triggering, but somebody else can. So this was a very consciously thought process that nowhere would we hurt anybody's sentiment or trigger anything. So hopeful until now nothing of that sort has happened even after people have watched the movie in theaters.
Hmm. And I think, when you are creating a piece of art, no matter what it is, I feel like it definitely requires some sort of introspection on one's life and their experiences. So I think for each of you, whether it was the music, whether it was the camera, whether it was you as a director, Nithin, just overseeing everything, how much of you kind of uh, delved back into your days when you were in hostel or where you were in college? What was those experiences like, and how do you think that experience really helped you to transpire into the work that we're finally seeing on screen?
So I also stayed in my hostel during my engineering days. Uh, we have not directly been inspired by any story that has happened there, but sure everybody has a warden in their hostel. So a few bits and pieces of the movie will definitely be inspired from a different story altogether that would have happened in a hostel. So any environment that we live in, it influences us a lot. So for me, hostel was liberation. Hostel was freedom amidst that four walls, whatever the small compound we used to stay in. We were so free. Even not, I mean, even now, we keep missing hostel days. That because we had no care of the world. We didn't have to do anything. We just have to come, eat, sleep, repeat. That was the only thing. So in that case, apart from that entire freedom part and liberated part, I think not much has been taken from my hostel days, but subconsciously it might have affected my writing.
Yeah, I didn't had chance to stay in hostel, but I stayed in the hostel like 1 week when I was in my teen. I was teaching the students there to perform in their fests and the functions what happens in the college. So I know how they think. I had that idea of their there some amateurness in their because they are starting their the first time they are out of their house, and as Nithin told, no, that is their freedom they have, and they have their own conception about the music, their own taste. Definitely, that has helped me to score the music in Hostel Hudugaru.
The longest I've stayed in a hostel was during the filming of this movie, because we stayed in the same hostel we were filming in. But I used to always sneak into my hostel in my engineering college. So I've seen a lot of characters that come across in this movie. I've seen them in real life. that kind of helped me connect with those. And while filming this, we stayed in the hostel, so that kind of made us all that the on-screen chemistry you see amidst all the characters that organically developed while we were filming this, because we were staying in the same hostel as we were shooting. We didn't have any different accommodation, so we would just come out of the room, shoot, and get back to our rooms.
To not only capture the visuals, and he's acted also behind the
Yeah.
camera as a character. He's a character.
Oh, right. And do you know what? Can I just tell you one thing? I am absolutely in awe of Kannada cinema and the way they use a lot of raw sort of actors in their films. You know, people who might not have had many acting experiences, but they pick them up. I mean, just recently I watched this remarkable film called Hadine Lentu, which was absolutely fantastic, and the way they used rawness actually and the got raw emotions out of the ordinary people they chose to star in film. I think this is a good question for you, Nithin, actually, because when you were obviously casting, I mean, of course, there's like big stars like Rishab Shetty. So there's a lot of like, you know, mainstream, well-known actors that were basically associated with this. But when it comes to the casting, Nithin, what were you as an actor, as a director looking out? Because I know obviously the co-producer, one of them is the co-producer, one of the leads is the co-producer as well.
So actors, we were very clear that there are two parts in the movies, if you have seen. One part where it's very cinematic, the other part which is very realistic. So we had a lot of rehearsals, and we had told them, all the actors, that you might have to forget all the usual acting gestures that you do in the realistic part. In the cinematic part, like if you see, if somebody gets angry, he grunts, he growls, all of that is there. But here in the realistic part, we wanted to make sure it should look as real as possible, and all the boys who are acted should look like your neighborhood boys. That was very clear, and we had auditioned around like 6 to 7 thousand people for the entire cast. So we handpicked everybody, and the before a day before shoot also, they didn't know which role they'll be playing. We had been practicing for 2 weeks. I mean, I could have given the role to anybody. They knew that any role can be swapped with anybody, so they had to be prepared for anything. The whole idea behind that was also wanted to observe their behavior and which role will add to their behavior. So so if you've seen anybody's acting over there, they've not only acted, they've just behaved themselves also. If it 20% is their real behavior also.
Right. And this is Nitin, this is your first feature film, right? I think you've done short films before, right? As a
Yes,
director.
yes. This is my first feature film.
Wow. I mean, did you ever, when you were making the short films, did you ever envision that you will end up making a movie like Hostel and it'll create the sort of sensation that it is already?
I've not made much of short films, but I've shot a lot of promos when I was working for a TV channel.
Hmm.
So that experience helped me a lot. And vision, yes, we had a vision that we have to make a great film that's at least a film that we would like to watch on screen. And the success that Hostel Hudugaru has given us as of now is very humbling. We never thought that this would go for such a mass appeal. We knew that TG of around 18 to 35 might actually enjoy it, but it has actually crossed to 55 and age. Even with 60-year-old people can able to watch it and laugh.
Yeah. Do you guys think that now nostalgia has perhaps become a way to get us out and to start getting the business of films running again? Or do you think it's just a phase that will eventually wear out, you know, where we will suddenly end up going to making different style of films? I mean, what do you think is your opinion on that? Nathan, would you like to go first and then
Yeah.
we'll ask everyone else?
So see, Kannada film industry is around like 75 years old. So a topic of nostalgia comes when we exhaust a few genres already. Only in the last 10 years do we actually have nostalgia as a main element. Because until then we were exploring a lot of other genres. Nostalgia, why is it working? Because the predominantly the viewers or the people who go to the theater are a little young, little, as in like around like 20 to 40. You can take 20 to 40. So they would like to watch something of their college life usually, because uh, now we've been packed with so much content, OTT and all of that. They would like to watch something that would remind them of their childhood days. And pop culture references are pretty less in compared in Kannada. So we thought we should explore that genre, something that we've grown and watched and liked all of. So that I think it won't fade away soon, but the entire point of nostalgia being the main crux of the film might fade, but not pop culture references anytime soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
like you said, nostalgia is very new for Kannada films, and there have been very few films which have paid homage to nostalgia or are, and nostalgia has a very universal appeal. I'm sure everybody has their own version of their memories, and nostalgia is one common ground which can get anyone to like the movie. So I feel definitely it's going to be play a big part, and I think it all depends on how much it's exploited. If it's the thin line again, if nostalgia is made the main theme, it might not work as big as this. If if it's supporting the main plot and nostalgia is just an element which supports the main plot, I think nostalgia will play a big part in business.
I always, had a question in my mind, like, why do people listen? Even today, if you go to colleges, they sing many old Kishore Kumar songs, Muhammad Rafi's songs, and many Ilayaraja songs. And now, if you they are singing A. Rahman sir song, 90s A. Rahman song. Always, I had this. Why don't the present thing and the thing is the nostalgia music, I mean, the music which we had before, no, it has many things. So it connects to your past, it connects to your uh, you know uh, your memories, everything. So when you give a sugar coat when you sugar coat the nostalgia thing in your music, or and give it to people, they tend to listen it many more times. Repeatedly they keep on listening. So I always want that is how I pursue with the music. And in the present, and nostalgia always works. I
Yeah.
believe.
So nostalgia has worked even in Hollywood, not then when George Lucas shot American Graffiti, or when Richard Linklater did Dazed and Confused. Even they had set the movie 20 years before,
Mm.
at whatever time they shot. So it's, I think nostalgia is a universal emotion, and it will keep working forever, probably.
And when you tell a story, i I feel that it's very hard to believe in the present situation, in if you tell a a love story in Bangalore life here, it is very tough to make the audience believe. If you say the same story, it was like this before, maybe 90s it was like this, the people were like there, no, people have that idea that, oh, we had this kind of people in those days,
Mm.
this kind
And
of the
Yes.
culture.
And I think if we look at it, it's not just in India. I think even in the West. I mean, why do you think a film like Barbie has also done really well? Is of course the subjects it touches on, but then also that whole element of, especially girls, growing up and playing with the dolls and all of that. So it makes a lot of sense. But I think generally, I'm very happy to see the growth that I think non-Hindi films are having, nowadays. And I think it's wonderful that even South, which is such a huge market, because when we're talking about South, there's so many different languages, so many different regions itself that's there. I mean, it's great. But I think one thing that I would love to know about you, especially because of the Kannada film industry. I mean, even though it's been running for many years, but it was also very small, and now the amount of films it's producing has substantially increased. um so I think in terms of the growth, what would you like to say about the growth that it's having? And given the fact that people are now sort of capitalizing in India as a market, how important is it for our industries, and I don't just mean South, I mean pan India, to not get carried away by the sort of the richness and the wealth that we get from these films, and actually keep our focus on simplicity and local storytelling? Nitin?
So Kannada film industry, like you said, is pretty small when compared to Hindi, but almost on par with other South Indian industries. And we've been doing movies since when even like other South Indian industry started. I think we all started together, but it was based out of Madras, now Chennai. Uh, by now, I think now recent trend, we have got exposed a bit more. We've been doing good films all the time, but the exposure was better. We risked. We If you have to go to a Hindi market, you have to spend a lot of money. So probably we started taking risk, and it has paid off very well. And we from KGF to Kantara or Charlie to whichever films that has been coming, at least 2 to 3 films a year, we've been making the mark. I mean, it's not going down. The trend is not going down. I think the filmmakers here are still trying to do better films every year, and I with all the success of KGF Kantara, I think it only gets more. We get more cautious and competitive, and to do better films. It'll encourage us, and it'll motivate us to do better films.
If you ask me, I'm not that much into the business, but what I feel is, uh, of course, there was golden era of Kannada industry. They tell is in 80s and 70s, and in between there was a small downfall, and again there is always it is there, but uh, I don't know what to say. The amount of the what we got. The attention to the movies like from KGF and Kantara. I think something even the production houses are making that effort to and taking risk and make showcasing the films, and taking that extra effort is been paid off. So and of course, and as a fellow cinema technicians, we should also maintain that consistency in giving good films, and we need good directors, which we have many now in Kannada industry, who are thinking not only for Karnataka, they are thinking to showcase their films throughout India. That is the confidence it has given. So it's doing. I think we should see how it goes, and the consistency is the main thing we have to maintain. What we got, the initial that success.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say, in terms of business, we have a clear distinctive advantage over other industries because we have been making films on a smaller scale. I think we have an advantage of making bigger films in a smaller, tighter budgets compared to other, other industries in India. So I think that's going to help us a lot because we have a lot of new content coming in, and we have kind of cracked the code, and we know how to make bigger films on a smaller, tighter budget. And business-wise, I think that's going to take us long, and we are more. I believe we are more efficient in making bigger films because we have always had the constraint of budget. And in terms of the technicians or the equipment available, we are at par with any other industry in India. And it all comes down to content. And like like they say, more local you go, the more global is your reach. So I think we're going to get a lot of content from Kannada in the coming years, a lot of rooted content, which is going to have a universal appeal. I'm just looking forward to seeing all those content we create here.
All right. Well, that's really wonderful to hear, and I'm so heartened to hear that. Really, I think it's great. I mean, just for us as Indian cinema generally, I mean, it's the perfect time to really be proud of our background. In fact, I think this would be a really good question actually for I think many people who are watching because for a while, especially when you are when you have Indian parents, they often are quite reluctant and a bit skeptical of their child. You know, pursuing a career in the arts because financially बहुत मुश्किल होता है quick turnover banana. It's very unpredictable as well. I think given the fact that you've made a film like Hostel, which deals with ambitions, which deals also with the youth of today, even though in a very larger than life manner, what advice or what would you like to say to pan-Indian sort of youth today to who have the dreams of pursuing a life in cinema and the arts?
So about resistance, yes, I mean, even at my family, there was a lot of resistance not to get into films because I had done my engineering. So that resistance will be there all ever. I mean, that's been there since 50 years. I think anybody who wants to pursue arts as a commercially viable career, that resistance will definitely be there. But I think things have changed right now. You get more options in the same industry. And earlier there was very few job openings, but now a lot of things like content creators. You can do much. Women, particularly in the last 4 5 years, have got into behind the camera. That's a big thing. In Kannada cinemas, at least, a lot of women were coming into. And earlier it was very difficult to get in the industry and get paid. I think now day by day it's getting better. And if people love to pursue films, they should be allowed to, I think. But basic always say that a basic education is a must, because the way you make a film, you learn a lot from the college. I mean, from the people that you'll be surrounded with. You don't have to study film studies for that. But a good college degree is always helpful.
Like he said, the progress is definitely seen now. The industry has become much more organized, and lot many people are welcome with open arms. And it's definitely content is the industry. Our filmmaking industry is definitely going to grow multifolds in the coming years. And people who have an inclination and who are truly, are ready to put all in and risk it all, I think it's good time to come and try. Definitely, the industry has opened up. It's not a closed industry like it was before. So anyone who really think they have an aptitude or inclination towards it, now is the perfect time for them to come and explore.
Yes, they have told more about the how the industry works, because I'm the music person. I sit in my studio, express myself, and definitely I've come from the musical background, so it is decided. Okay, music is my career and everything. So when it comes to films, it has its own for the musicians who's aspiring musicians. I'm just trying to tell a few points that it takes its own time. So I have learned together. I've worked in cinemas. That is how I've come uh, till here. So the experience is very important. Getting in the first opportunity, it's very easy. From there to grow yourself, you need that experience, and to sustain and be the consistency. The experience is very important. So that learning and working both should go hand in hand in films, I believe, because
Wow.
there are plenty of options to nowadays. There is Spotify to put up your music to the world. There are many online platforms to show your talent. When it comes to films, this is how it works. This is what I've seen in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think a huge, huge congratulations to all three of you once again for Hostel. I mean, it's been such a pleasure to have you all and to have this very candid discussion, actually. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see some more great work from you all.
So,
Sure.
definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
our pleasure as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.